Hello, and welcome to Career STEM Chats. In this episode, you'll be hearing a chat between Sarah Cardozo Duncan, a STEM career expert, and Dr. Seshu Tyagarajan. Dr. Tyagarajan serves as Chief Technical and Development Officer at Candel Therapeutics, where she leads efforts to harness viral vector technology in the fight against cancer. With more than 2 decades of experience in biologics and cell and gene therapies, she brings deep technical manufacturing and development expertise to one of the most innovative frontiers in medicine. She holds a PhD in chemical and biochemical engineering from Rutgers, along with a master's in bioengineering from Purdue and a master's in biotechnology from the University of Pune in India. And beyond the lab and the boardroom, she finds balance in reading, gardening, cooking, painting, and traveling, bringing creativity and curiosity to every aspect of her life. With a career spanning global pharmaceutical leaders and some of the most groundbreaking advances in cell and gene therapy, Dr. Seshu Tyagarajan has helped shape the future of cancer treatment from the inside out. Here's our interview with Dr. Seshu Tyagarajan.
So I guess we should start this evening by thanking Seshu for coming to talk to us about her career story. And always when I look at this, it's like, what were the beginnings? Scientists, STEM people have beginnings very early on. What was yours? And then how did you have a PhD from chemistry from Rutgers, correct?
Chemical engineering.
Chemical engineering. So tell us about that whole path.
Yeah.
And then from the different jobs, did you change into other kinds of positions? Did you get off the bench? Like, give us that kind of bio sketch through your job.
Okay. Thank you, first of all, Sarah, for having me as a guest. It's my pleasure, and I'm happy to share my knowledge or my experience with young folks. And if even a single person benefits from this, I think my job would have, been successful.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. It's a long story, so I don't know how long I should take. I'll try to make an attempt to be brief, but I could get carried away, right? So who knows?
And if it was all right with you, we could set up the expectation. If it's going a little long, I'll give you a little signal to move on.
Yes.
Nobody will see the signal, but I'll just give you the signal.
Sure. Thank you. That would be very helpful.
But I think your career is so fascinating that take as much time as you need.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think the first tenet, so I will describe my career, but I think the one thing that has helped me along the way, 1, 2, or 3 things that have helped me along the way, is that I've always been open to new opportunities. So I've never closed my mind or closed my vision to say, that's not for me. If something came my way, I said, let me evaluate it. So I think that's advice I want to give every youngster, that please, and I've told this to people in my group, saying, don't say that this is not for me. If it comes, give it your full evaluation, and maybe there's a spark that will help you go in that direction. So don't be close, be open to opportunities, keep the doors open. The other thing I have to say is that I always try to be content and happy wherever I am. And this is more a philosophical thing, but it's very difficult. So at each little step in my career, I have been grateful to say, thank you to universe, thank you to everyone, and I'm happy. And you have to, verbalize that and tell yourself day after day, because the journey can be very difficult. The journey needs a lot of perseverance. Sometimes the results will not come when you're looking for, but they'll come at a different time. And that is, I can definitely say, it's a true testament to my journey. Yeah. So this is a synopsis. Yeah. Be happy, be content, be open, and it's going to open doors that you may never know where they are. So my journey obviously began actually with a master's at Purdue in bioengineering. And then I moved to the East Coast to continue my PhD. So my fiance at that time got a job in East Coast, New Jersey, and I didn't want to do my PhD thesis in Midwest with my husband going to be here. So I said, let me get a master's from Purdue, great school, great engineering school, learned a lot. And then I said, okay, I'll come to Rutgers and do my PhD. And my PhD is in chemical and biochemical engineering because I wanted to be in the intermixing of sciences. I didn't want it to be a pure chemical engineer or a pure chemistry person. So biotechnology was what I had done in India, and that's what I wanted to pursue. So PhD journey, as most of you will know who are in the grad school, is not an easy one. It really tests your patience, your grit, your determination. So just go through that. But at the end of it, you would have evolved as a totally different person than who went into grad school. And I think that is what I take away from my PhD. And that there's a
Ah,
lot of times in my life when I've said, yes, that was a tough journey, but I am very grateful for that. And I will do that again in a heartbeat if I get a chance. Because who I am today is definitely a testament to all that went into the thesis, so to speak. So obviously, after my PhD, I started in the biotech industry. So one thing I knew,
and I'm
yeah,
just going to ask you a question. After your PhD,
yeah,
you decided not to postdoc.
exactly. So two things.
Tell the
Yeah,
audience why, because that's always an interesting choice.
correct. So two things about that. The one thing that I did know was that I preferred to have an industry job over an academic job. I think that was clear in my mind. But the second thing was because it was a chemical engineering PhD, the requirement for postdoc was not there. You could get a job without actually doing a postdoc. So
Ah,
that's the reason why I didn't need to do a postdoc. Obviously, if I wanted to, I could have. But I was being in the New Jersey in the pharma belt, it was easy to figure out what my options would have been. Um, I got a full-time position in North Carolina, and my husband was in New Jersey, and I had a baby by that time already who was
oh
two
my
and a half years
goodness.
old. Yes, yes. People were like, "You're crazy to have a kid in grad school," but I'm like, "Okay, let me get the kid out of the way, and while the thesis is happening." So, given that I was a mom already, I didn't want to go to North Carolina and uproot my husband from his good job. So I said, "Let me see what's available here." So I actually started as a contract scientist at Merck. After,
Ah,
yeah, after doing 1 year in bioprocess, biocatalysis, then I moved to Roche in their GMP manufacturing setup. And
and
there,
may I ask,
yeah,
why that? What was the interest in that?
yeah.
Because it was pretty new.
It is new. Yes, very, very correct. I had done an internship at Roche during my PhD, so I obviously liked the group very much. The second thing was that my PhD was in plant cell culture, and I wanted to move, and there was no industry in plant cell culture. So I knew if I wanted to be in the industry, I needed to move into mammalian cell culture. And as a person, I have a lot of cell culture experience, so I know that is where I gravitate towards, and that's where my first position would be because I have a lot of experience in cell culture. So at Roche, they gave me the opportunity to be actually part of mammalian cell culture drug production for an approved drug.
Oh,
This was an opportunity that really, okay, so here's where I say be open. This is a great example. So I'm at Merck and I interview at Roche, and the first thing or the last thing the HR says is, we are going to close this facility in 6 months. Would you still be open? And I look at her and said, yes. And my reasoning was this is a FDA approved product. I'm going to get invaluable experience, whether it's 6 months or 1 year. So let me take it. And this is how I took it. And it was a manufacturing position. A lot of PhD people will run the other way from a manufacturing position. But I decided to say, yeah, I decided to take it up and see what it is like. The 6 years turned into 6 months turned into 7 years. So I was at Roche
Wow.
for 7 years. This is what I say, to be open, like when, and they were very clear that they are shutting down the facility and moving it to Germany. But I ended up learning so many things in a GMP environment, FDA inspections, GMP manufacturing, how to work with all regulations. So it was a very, very wonderful journey. And I was there at Roche for 7 years in the manufacturing setting. After that, I worked in a small biotech that actually did plant cell culture, and it was a startup in New Jersey. And I didn't have to move to California to get to work in a startup. So I said, why not? I'm young. I wanted to try the startup environment, and I had done the big, large scale anyway. So I took the startup. This was 2007. And as luck would have it, that was when the financial crisis happened in 2007. So we had to actually close the company down, but they retained six of us, and I was one of them. So I stayed back for another 10 months with the same company. And then the financial crisis deepened, and then we had to really close shop. So that's when I started looking again. And then I moved to Biogen in Boston. That was another year and a half stint because again,
And why Biogen? What attracted you to Biogen?
so at that time I had 2 to 3 offers. All of them were coming from outside of New Jersey, and one was coming within New Jersey. But it was just the possibility of a very good career and good science and being part of biotech. So we wanted to make sure that I took up the best of the 3 offers, and Biogen was obviously a very good biotech company. I had worked in pharma so far, hadn't worked in a biotech company, so we wanted to try that out, and we were pretty, happy with Boston as a place, so it was a good way to try it out. That's how I started Biogen. And the idea was that my family, once we liked Biogen, and once I liked Biogen, and once we liked Boston as a city, as a family, then we would decide to move to Boston the next year. And so that was the reason why I said, okay, I will come to Boston first. I would commute from New Jersey, and then we evaluated. We were all for Boston, and then we were going to move to Biogen, well, sorry, move the family to Boston. But then it so happened that my husband at that particular time was not able to move, and then I decided to come back to the kids and come back to New Jersey. I had a great stint at Biogen, very successful career, but then I gave that up and I came to Imclone slash Lilly. It's now Lilly in New Jersey. That's where I started. So at Biogen, I was doing manufacturing support. So I'd done manufacturing, GMP manufacturing. I'd done research. At Phyton, I had the research and process development group, I think, under me. And then at Biogen, I went into manufacturing science and technology, supporting the manufacturing, I think. And then at Imclone slash Lilly, I did CMC program management. That was my
Ah,
first foray into CMC program management. And
and why that?
why that? Because I was looking for positions within New Jersey, applying to different companies or looking at what was available. At Imclone, my manager at that time was starting the CMC project management group for the company. So it was a great opportunity where I could bring together my experiences in manufacturing, in troubleshooting, in deviations during my PhD, my learning. So bring all of that into becoming a CMC team leader. So it's actually a very exciting line of work, I have to say. So that's how I started my CMC team leadership at Imclone, with first mid-scale programs, then late-stage programs, and then finally filing a BLA before moving to Novartis. And at Novartis, I was there for their whole cell and gene therapy revolution. Started the day pretty much when the unit was officially formed. And I was there with the whole Kymriah journey. Before Kymriah was another stem cell program, then Kymriah, then T-Charge, which is the next generation Kymriah. So I was there at Novartis for another 7 years before then figuring out what should be my next move. And the next move brought me to Candel, which is a viral vector company. So at Novartis, I did cell and gene therapy. Before that, I did biologics, and then now I'm doing viral vectors in 3 different types of viral vectors. So that's overall my journey so far, Sarah.
That's an incredible journey, Seshu. Tell me, what were some of the obstacles, right, along the way? I think your decision making is pretty clear. I think you've communicated that well, that be open.
Yeah.
And also, you're always interested in new shiny things. It appears like new science, the beginning of CMC, the beginning of those kinds of journeys are
Yes.
the journeys that really attracted you.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. And I'm not afraid, right? So each time, like maybe there may be other people who say, oh, I don't know this. So maybe I need to wait a little longer, or this position or this particular position may be a little bit out of reach. But I'm like, if somebody else is ready to offer, why not? So this is another thing. My mantra is, it's not why, but it's why not. So when I'm faced with a challenge, I'm like, let's take a look at it to see how can we solve it. So I said, why not? Let's give it a try. If it works, good. If it doesn't work, then I always have my background to fall back on. So that's been also something that I have practiced and preached and applied to myself.
Fabulous. And so the other thing is, right, female
Yes.
chemistry. I mean, I don't imagine there were very many females around,
Yeah.
although Rutgers did recruit actively
Yeah.
for chemistry, for females for chemistry.
Mm.
But from there,
Yeah.
you know, your PhD and so on and so forth, one of the issues that many people have, not just women, but men scientists as well,
Right.
is the balance between work and family. So if you could talk a little bit
Yeah.
about having young children, having a child in your PhD program, which I know a lot of women that have.
Yes.
You're all very brave.
Yes.
So if you could talk about this sort of family piece of that, that would be kind of interesting to hear.
Thank you. Thank you. Family is very important to me, and I'm sure to a lot of other a lot of other people as well. So the one thing, excuse me, I had told myself was that my family should not suffer because I'm a working woman, and work should not suffer because I'm a working mom, right? So it was always trying to strike that 50-50 balance. But that 50-50 balance is not going to happen all the time. So sometimes work has to take prerogative, in which time your family has to support you. And other times it's the family that takes prerogative, and we have to figure out how to do the work. And that has always been the case for me from the beginning. I guess I would say during the PhD times, though, PhD was primarily important, and that was what I was really focused on. So yes, my kid, who was, first he was born, then he was 1, then he was 2, he did have to adjust a little bit, saying mom is coming home not before 9 p.m., and maybe I get an hour with my mom sometimes a little more. I had my mom to help me, my husband was there to help, but yes, so there were some little tough times in the beginning, but overall it worked out. I would give him my full, once I'm home, he got my full attention, and he knew that. He knew how to get my attention, otherwise also. So yeah, the work-life balance it kind of goes in waves, and you just have to go with the wave. I think that's helpful. But yes, you need to be focused, right? That is one thing that is also helpful.
Well, and
Other
be
thing, the other thing I learned with
a
my
really
kids,
good organization.
exactly, good
Well,
organization. Once the kids are born, though, you've got 1 hour to finish 10 things, and that's it. Like you don't have once if they don't finish, once you leave the desk, you know that you're not going to get back to it. So that kind of helped in really pushing things fast, and knowing that I need to finish this in a very short time.
so in terms of like your priorities at work and how quickly you were able to work, given you had a child waiting for you at home.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, so really
Interesting.
organizing, the next day, like today I'm planning what the next day looks like, so then I know how to balance my work day, so to speak.
Fabulous. And then I just, your journey through pharma and
Yeah,
biotech to pharma and, you know, your growth in each of those organizations,
yeah.
how does that differentiate between like working in pharma
Mm.
and then becoming a CTDO in a biotech company. Like, how was that journey? And what do you see as the differences are?
Mm.
And could you have been in this position without the experience you had before you? And what experience before you, because you know I always have 10 questions, and what experience before you were the most impactful in terms of assuming a C-suite position?
These are lots of difficult questions. So let's break.
I know, I don't
Yeah,
ask
let's
easy questions.
because
Break it down.
yeah. So I'll go back to what I said, being open, right? So
Right.
there's one thing that you're open. I was open. The other thing was there was a lot of times it was lateral moves or lateral growth and not maybe like a stepwise steep increase in your career. But absorbing the most important tenets from each of your positions or each of my positions, I think has been a strength of mine. And again, going back to what I said in the beginning, being happy and content, right? So, we can try and aspire for things, but they may not come to you when you're looking for. So I'm going to be very honest. I was not looking for a CTDO. That was never in my career scope of things, maybe higher level within a pharma company, but this title was not in my dreams or whatever, but it came to me. And when it came to me, I'm like, if it's coming to me, I'm going to try it, right? I will try it and then I'll see, am I suited for it? Am I not suited for it? I don't know before trying it. And thankfully, I am suited for it and I'm loving it, right? But
And
being,
you're loving it.
I'm loving it. I'm loving it. And that
Why
is
are you
thankfully.
loving it?
I'm loving it because of the company Candel Therapeutics, about the culture that Candel Therapeutic um, uh, implies and works towards generating and maintaining a culture that is very good, very open, very trustworthy, and very, I think we still are more than a 50% women leadership team. So there's so many good things about Candel. So loving it because of the people, because of the science, and because of what I'm getting to do here. So all of that together is very helpful. So going back, like with each position, I may have wanted something, I didn't get that, but I got something else in return. Every single time I moved a position or a job, it was an external force that was needing me to move, not that I was really wanting to move that often. But every single time I had at least two offers or three offers that I could choose from. I would do a grid, an Excel sheet, and figure out, okay, which one was the best for the family and myself, and choose that. It was only Kendall that I did not do a grid or anything. I just chose Kendall with my heart, and I will choose it again 100 times if I have to. So I am very thankful for that. But
Good.
coming here, I think it's all the experiences first in the manufacturing suite, working with operators, working with manufacturing staff. How do you, as a PhD, going in and learning from them, working with them, be humble, be curious, be open. Like, I think that openness is very, very important. So figuring out what is important for a manufacturing suite, manufacturing production, then going into a small biotech, a small startup company, and like pretty much all the aims and goals that the company had, more than 50% were from my group. So no pressure, right? And here I am trying to deliver on all of those. That was a very interesting journey. And I had total fun. The group was fun. I had total fun. Then I moved to Biogen, a different culture, different atmosphere, different city, and learning, adapting, and still then working to be very successful in Biogen was very helpful. Then I come
And,
to,
and
yeah,
if you could just sprinkle in,
yeah.
not giving away secrets, like the science that you kept moving upwards in.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if I have a direct response to that, but at Roche, it was monoclonal antibody manufacturing.
Thank
Before
you.
that, at Merck, so at Rutgers, it was plant cell culture, metabolic modeling. Then I moved to biocatalysis at Merck. Then I moved to actual GMP manufacturing at Roche. Then back to process development and R&D in plant therapeutics at Phyton. Then Avonex, which is like this, big blockbuster for Biogen, I was supporting their manufacturing, bringing in new tech transfer, new projects into the manufacturing, supporting the inspections, supporting deviations at Avonex. Um, so that was a different kind of biologic, not a monoclonal antibody. And then I come to ImClone, where we have a portfolio of mid-stage compounds and late-stage compounds. And I had the luxury or the fortune of managing either 3 or 4 programs, with one mid-stage, one late stage, and then finally helping out with the BLA, which is a great experience for anybody to have to file a BLA in their career. So each time it was a new thing that I'm adding or learning and figuring out how to do, or figuring out what are my weak points and how do I overcome that in my next role. And then from there, moving to cell and gene therapy, which was completely new in 2014. And you didn't know, nobody knew whether it'll be successful or not. So that's another big risk that one has to take in order to sign up for cell and gene therapy. And luckily, though, we were successful. We filed Kymriah in 2017, if I'm not mistaken. So it was successful. But when I joined in 2014, I didn't know if that would be a successful journey. But my thing was, okay, we learn from whatever we do. It's a new field. We learn from that, and we'll come back to biologics if I have to. So that was how I kind of, kept on learning. Now, bringing all of that to my new position, it's like, the problems remain similar. Doesn't matter which area you are in, and I can break it down to little lab experiments or overall fields. But the things that are important are, how do you problem solve? How do you troubleshoot? What is your propensity to absorb the high level aspects of the program, but also the ability to go deep down into a troubleshooting, problem solving mode. I think these are the things that have helped me. And that's what I tell other people, that this is what will help you. Does not matter which field you're in. If you're a quick learner and if you can solve the problems quickly, you should be able to apply that to the any role, any field that you can. And the other thing that's very important is connecting the dots. I think if you can connect the dots, not just for yourself, but for your peers on your left and your right, or your departments on your left and your right, you would have provided a lot of value to your company, to your group, to your colleagues, and they will appreciate that.
Fabulous.
Thank you.
And also just, it also sounds that the excitement you had for science in your PhD, you're as excited now. Even not maybe even more so, because the joy about your work just comes through. It's just lovely, lovely, lovely.
You haven't seen me in some of my meetings, Sarah. I'm like this, like a kid in a candy store. I'm like, guys, are you learning? Are you enjoying this? And they're like, yeah, we are, right? Yeah. Each time you solve a problem, I think to me, that's like the biggest reward. Biggest reward.
Fabulous. And then, I think the only other question in this situation, and I have one follow-up question, is the transition, right, from an executive director. I think that's how you were at Novartis.
Yes.
On your LinkedIn. And how do you then, what's the change? Right? What is the change when you've done everything you can to bring you to a place of leadership and decision making in an organization? How does one take that on?
So I think that's a very good question. So within Novartis, when I joined in, then I kept on moving up. I think I started as an associate director, then moved to a director, stayed a director for some time, and then became an executive director, and then went on to the leadership team for T-Charge, which is the next generation Kymriah. So at each point in time, you're growing, you're learning, you are growing, you're learning how to defend your program, you're learning how to strategize your program, and you're learning how to build a program. So that's how the growth was. And I can say very proudly that, everything that I stood for or I recommended stayed the test of time, which I think I really feel very proud about,
That must be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is that you do your homework really well. to the best you can. The areas that you don't know, be humble enough to go and ask people who are the experts in that area. Or if your superiors give you feedback, work on it. And I did get feedback from like the top guy saying, this is not enough. You need to come back and give me a plan that takes care of A, B, and C. So I would go back and then build a plan, go back, present it. Then they would be like, oh, but you didn't think about that. Go back, work on that, come back. But after 6 months, whatever I think I proposed stayed for a long time. So it was hard work doing that, presenting the strategy, but it stayed. It was a very robust strategy. And then, but once you've done that, now being a CTDO, to me, it's just a lateral transition, Sarah, to be honest. I'm doing exactly the same things with the same intensity and, as you can see, with the same joy that I've done before. But now
Yes.
what it is you have to figure out, okay, how are you presenting to the board? What is the message that we need to convey? As I said, the culture within Kendall is great. So with my leadership team, I don't have to, I don't have to think like 10 times, can I say this? Can I not say this? I think we are a very open culture. So we are very frank with each other, which is the best part. And then with my team also, I inculcate the same thing, right? So they need to be open, they need to feel comfortable to speak up, and we should be able to brainstorm very openly any problems that we have, such that we can set ourselves up for success. So they know that, and that's what I try to encourage in them. So for the transition has been very smooth for me, just making sure we are doing all the things that are needed, connecting the dots again, and crossing the T's and dotting the I's. That's what I've been doing.
I love it. It's just such a great journey,
It
right?
is.
And it's a great journey for a female
Yes. Yeah.
because there are a lot of CTOs out there. There are more women, thank goodness.
Yes.
But predominantly, that was a very male kind of role. You
Yes.
didn't have a lot of women in CTO roles or CTDO
Yes.
roles, right? I
Yeah.
mean, it just wasn't in existence. So it's wonderful because you're a model for women that
Thank
are
you.
coming after you. So thank you for that very much.
Thank you.
And then if you wanted to impart,
Hmm.
particularly during these times
Yes.
where science is a little, let's say, science is not shaky. The
Yeah.
way we're going to conduct science
Yeah.
might be a little shakier.
Yeah.
What would you recommend to that generation, right? The early career.
Yeah.
I think the mid-career people know, I think got the message, received the message loud and clear.
Yeah.
Be open.
Yes.
Look for when opportunities come your way, take them.
Yeah.
Jump into the deep end of the pool
Yeah.
is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But for PhDs coming out, and I'm really just going to focus this conversation on industry,
Yeah.
what are the steps in this economy
Right.
that people can take
Yeah.
to move their careers forwards, if you have any suggestions on that?
So again, the things are changing so rapidly right now that it's hard to predict or project how things will be in 2 years from now. But if I were to put myself in a position like I've come out of a graduate lab, I'm working early in the industry. Again, I think to connect with people, be open to discussion, but definitely to network internally is very important. Networking externally is very important, because you don't know what ideas might spark in a conversation with others, right? The other thing is to be an advocate for yourself is important. None of us do that. I didn't do that. We don't do that. We feel that our work should speak for ourselves, but you are your best advocate. So certainly take the effort and the time to advocate for yourself. Figure out what you like, figure out what you enjoy. And if your enjoyment is in the lab, then that's great. But if your enjoyment is somewhere outside the lab, then explore those opportunities. Sometimes you can try and see if you can shadow someone for a little bit, Have a conversation with your manager to see how they can help with your developmental goals. Have some developmental goals in your, in your year-end goals. A lot of companies are open for that, and take slow steps, and then hopefully that'll all, ultimately, when you look back, they all would have been contributed towards where you will be a few years from now.
Excellent.
Okay.
Excellent, excellent.
Thank
It
you.
was so kind of you
Oh, of course,
to
of
be
course.
able to join me on this podcast because, I thought that it would be a good thing
Yeah.
to interview people who have had different, because you're not a person that went into pharma and came out 25 years later,
No, no.
right?
Yeah,
Every job you change for whatever the purpose was,
right.
right? For the reason those decision making led you
Yeah.
to learning actually more than if
Yes,
you had stayed in one place for a long period of time.
correct.
Is
Learning
what
on the
is
job.
what I'm getting from you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the
And
diversity, right? Diversity of learning, which certainly, could not have happened if I was in a particular area for a long time.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
So anything else you'd like to impart?
Yes, definitely. I come back to saying be open, but be content, be curious, have a positive outlook always, right? Because to me, the glass is always half full. It's never half empty because there's so many possibilities. And as I say, to be grateful because if I have good health, good friends, good family, I think I am, and a job, right? Whether it's a great job or a decent job, but it brings in salary into the home and I can have a decent living. I think that's a lot to say. And we should always, always never forget that. So I think that is the most important thing, to look at where we have come, whether it's just finishing the PhD or a little 2 years later after the PhD. At each step, we have to be grateful and thankful for where we are. And I can say this, there were times when I was very low, right? And when I look back, I'm like, nobody can take my PhD away from me, right? That was one thing that I still remember telling that to myself, So each one of us will have times when you really need some reassuring phrases that can, help you, push you in the right direction, in the right way. It could be choose whatever it is. But for me, having worked through to earn that PhD, I feel very happy, very proud. And so if you're pursuing a PhD, that's a great thing. I really wish you all the best. Wish you a very great career because we really bring a different way of thinking into the industry, into the problem solving. So you're doing the right thing. And then yes, all the best to people who are, trying to establish themselves.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful. And with the onset of technology,
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
and
That's
and 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 this next generation, I think is look out.
They are, yes. That's why I don't even know if my advice or, is as valid now as it was before
Oh,
because AI.
I actually think it's really valid
Okay.
because to all of you out there, I mean this from the bottom of my heart, and I don't intend to, right? But because the two generations, right?
Mm.
The Gen Zs, the millennials, right? They grew up in a rapid response world.
Yes.
And so they're used to rapid response.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll have conversations with people around, oh my goodness, Sarah,
Yeah.
6 years for a PhD.
Yes. Yeah.
And I sit back and I think, oh my goodness. And then I think, no, this is because it's instant text, it's instant this, it's instant that. But
Yeah.
my answer is usually the following.
Okay.
I say, how long do you think you're going to be working for?
Ah,
And let's say the average is around 45 years or so,
wow.
right?
Okay. Yeah.
That's because how you've been working a long time. All of this knowledge just didn't come instantly.
Right. Right.
And so that to slow down
Hmm.
is what I think the message you were giving,
Yes.
and to really absorb every job that you have even if it's not exactly what you thought it was,
Correct.
because that will take you to the next.
Yes.
And in the end, the learning you do in some of those jobs you didn't even think you would like is the best learning you've ever done in your life.
Absolutely. That is so well said. So, for example, when I did manufacturing at Roche, right? I'm coming out of an intense PhD program. I'm doing manufacturing. Manufacturing, you cannot change anything. You have to follow strictly. And obviously, I was overseeing people who were doing that. So, what would I do? I come out and now I'm like very deeply reading books, learning piano, doing all the things that my mind needed because my job at that time was more manufacturing. But I was like, oh, great. Now I'm like really wanting and enjoying all of this. So just trying to balance your intellectual curiosity and the intellectual needs with the job needs is also a great advice I can give folks, because sometimes you may not get what you're looking for from the job, but still, do it and be happy about it.
And I'm going to end with this. I'll say most people that I've met through the years, and I've worked with not hundreds of scientists, I've worked with thousands, right?
Yes.
Thousands of scientists at this point. And usually there's a creative piece to science.
Yes.
So my question to you is, what is your creative outlet?
A lot. Actually, I was going to say that. So I paint, I write poems every now and then, I cook, I travel, I do crafts like, crochet, macrame is something I've done in the last few years. So trying to learn something new. So definitely these are my creative outlets. And of course, going to the city to Broadway shows, theater, and stuff like that. So I that part of me really needs to be activated or engaged a lot of times, so that's how I de-stress.
And in
Yeah.
those de-stress moments, I'll bet you anything, when you've come back out of that, you say, oh, I know the answer.
No, even going into, like, I'm going into the city, going to see, I think, I forget which show that was, going to see that. And then from my work, we get a result. And I'm like, oh my God, this is just awesome.
See
Yeah. So
that?
definitely,
Right?
definitely, without a doubt.
Different. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. This has been so wonderful and really encouraging to people, I think.
Yeah.
And the advice and information that you have given has been invaluable, really invaluable. Thank you so much, Seshu. Wishing you and your group at Candel all the best, much success,
Okay.
and we'll talk soon.
Sure. You're very welcome. And thank you for giving me the opportunity, Sarah. It's been wonderful sharing my experience. Happy to come back at any point in time, but really want to wish your podcast all the best, and all the young listeners. There's a world out there, so go ahead and conquer, and wishing you all the best.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.